My name is Todd Tabutis. I'm the executive director here. It's great to see everyone. I even see some members who've made it all the way from Washington. Who else is a member? Is a Blue Sky member? Why isn't everybody else a member? We do appreciate it. I want to make a couple announcemements first. For those of you who aren't aware, there's a great retrospective exhibition at the Portland Art Museum right now, up through January 11th, about us, about Blue Sky. We're honored because mostly artists get retrospectives, and to have a nearly 40-year-old nonprofit get a retrospective is pretty spectacular. 130 prints by artists we've shown over the last nearly 40 years. So go check it out, and there's a great accompanying catalog while you're in town from Washington. And the other thing I want to announce too, if people aren't familiar with our new publishing project called Blue Sky Books. We launched a couple weeks ago 38, 36, 39, almost 40, we're almost 40, 37 print-on-demand books by past Blue Sky artists. So this is all work that's been seen on the walls of Blue Sky. And the great thing about it is it's only available online, so we don't have to print copies that we think people will buy, but we know you are going to buy that. So go to blueskygallery.org/books, and you can look at all the titles and peruse them there, and you order them through MagCloud. So today we have Jared Soares, who is here from Washington, D.C. He is he's the man right over here. He is going to talk today about the body of work on display in the other gallery, Small Town Hip Hop, as well as some more recent work about his artistic process. He's happy to be interrupted as he talks. So before I turn it over to him, the last thing I always do is tell everybody to silence their phones, as I'm doing right now. And with that, welcome Jared.
Thanks guys. Can everybody hear me? Is my voice projecting loud enough for everybody?
Yeah.
I've been battling a cold all week, so a little congested. So like Todd said, I'm going to be talking about who I am as a photographer, what I do, my personal work, and then I'm going to pull the curtain back and kind of show you my creative process with another project. All right, let's go. So, can I actually get somebody to drive this while I talk?
I can do it.
Cool. I'll just kind of stare at you when I need it to go. And like Todd said, if you guys have questions during the talk, just throw them out. I want to make it interactive and like a conversation, so I'm just not just talking right at you guys. So I photograph community and identity, mostly in my backyard. The fact that I live where I'm photographing allows images and relationships to happen organically. I'm not going into a place for 2 weeks and then coming back out. Like, my photography is based a lot on building a rapport, building a relationship. So the work that you saw in the other gallery, I started in 2008. I was curious to see if hip hop existed in Southwest Virginia. When you think of rural Southwest Virginia, you think of bluegrass, you think of mountain music. I wanted to see if hip hop existed here, and I was fortunate enough to meet some people who kind of showed me the culture and the music. And we'll just kind of run through these. So there's another image from hip hop. Another image. And then after hip hop, I spent some time in a place called Martinsville, Virginia. It's also in Southwest Virginia, and it used to be a hub for textile and furniture manufacturing. I had traveled there for a newspaper assignment, and you get an eerie feeling when you drive through the town that something is not right. And I wanted to explore how individuals and families were coping with the loss of manufacturing jobs in the downturn. Let's go to the next one. I also wanted to document it from the other side of how the companies are doing as well, not just individuals. So some of these images were the inspiration for the New York Times best-selling book called Factory Man, that also kind of deals with the Bassett family in furniture manufacturing. So The work that you just saw was personal work. Nobody paid me to do it. Like I have to do personal work because it feeds my soul, and I have to be pushing up against something. Otherwise, I'll go crazy. And you're probably thinking, hey, how do you make money? Like, how do you support yourself? So we'll go to the next slide. I collaborate with editorial and commercial companies to fulfill their visual needs. So it's very transactional. It's, hey, are you available for, a shoot at this time? Great, here's the details, and it's sort of, off you go. It's very transactional, kind of like one-sided. They have a need, I'm there to kind of fulfill it. So this is kind of an internet safety bunker in rural Virginia, shot for a German magazine. It's the guys who control like the domain names and serial numbers. But this is a woman who gets paid to cuddle babies. So there's kind of a stark difference in the type of work that I'm commissioned for.
Stern magazine? That she cuddles babies for Stern magazine?
No, she cuddles babies for a hospital, the Children's Hospital in DC. It was photographed for Stern.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of work for German publications these past few months. And then kind of standard fare, hanging out with a group of children that play hockey. A lot of the work that I do is spending time, a couple hours, with people to kind of see a window into what they see in their lives.
Do you work through or how did you get the work for Stern?
So I had there's a portfolio review called the New York Times Portfolio Review, and this is actually kind of a funny story. So I actually missed my review with the photo editor because I was looking at the clock at the wrong time. So I showed up with 5 minutes late, left in the review, showed her the work. She was like, oh, you live in DC. I don't know any photographers in DC. I like your work. Maybe we might have something for you. And then I think it was maybe about 2 months later, they called. So a lot of it is getting your work in front of photo editors, either through in-person meetings or online, email.
So you don't have a rep?
No, not yet, because I just kind of being like a one-man band, like a rep's gonna take like part of your money, and like right now I want all the money. Kind of standard fare for the Washington Post, news event, the Corcoran's, final graduation ceremony. Just kind of trying to find something on the periphery that speaks to the event. And then I also get commissioned for portraiture as well. So this is a woman who works in a pasta factory. So as you can kind of see, like the work that I do is for commissioned clients is a lot different than my personal work, but there is still kind of that authenticity that's there. So, like I mentioned before, much of my work, all my work is based on relationships and transparency. I want the people that I'm photographing to know what I'm doing. I want them to know where the photographs are going to end up. It's been my experience that when I'm approaching people to photograph them now, somebody will pull out their smartphone and they will start Googling me to know if I'm telling the truth or if I'm a real photographer, how many Instagram followers I have, kind of like all that, fun business that like most photographers didn't have to deal with 20 years ago. And so the next few slides, I'm going to show you how I kind of build a relationship. I photographed a summer basketball league in Washington, D.C. It's right in the middle of the Berry Farms housing projects. The league has been around for about 40 years, and NBA players return each summer to play, to kind of put on a little homecoming each night for residents. And I wanted to spend some time to show what the community and culture surrounding this league is like. And in addition to packing my cameras with me, I packed a book dummy of the Hip Hop Project, a copy of Business Week, and a copy of Country Living. And let's go to the next slide. I wanted to show the people that I wanted to photograph that I'm an actual working photographer, that I'm a professional. Because everybody's carrying around cameras these days, I wanted to separate myself and find a way to do that. So in my mind, I thought like, my friends, my peers are impressed with Business Week and Country Living. They're kind of glossy tear sheets, they look great. Unfortunately, the people weren't, as impressed. So we'll go to the next one. They're more impressed with what was inside the photo book with my personal work. So they saw these images, and after I kind of gave my spiel about this is who I am, this is what I want to do, I want to spend some time to get to know your community, and photograph it, and then find a way to publish these images so we can get like a different viewpoint out there. And pretty much everybody said yes. And so this is kind of another example. We made this hand-bound book and also showed people some more of my work to give them a better idea of like kind of what the images would look like, what they would feel like.
What does the farms mean?
So the farms is a reference to Berry Farms, the housing project. It's kind of a nickname that everybody uses for it. So this is kind of like what an interaction would look like. I would see somebody that I wanted to photograph, and I would pull out my books, my materials, and we would have a conversation. I would say, my name's Jared, this is what I'm trying to do, I'm a photographer, and showing them examples. More often than not, they would say, yeah, let's do it, like, where do you want to go? Or they would see me walking up and they would say, you're the guy who photographed my friend, or you photographed my cousin. Absolutely, I want to do this. And I also like to share photos with the people that I'm photographing. And this is a huge compliment when it winds up on their Instagram feed. And you kind of get to see the engagement that the community gets up there. So, for me, it's really important that the people know like what the photographs look like, where they're going, and that they can be able to kind of use them as they see fit as well. So we're going to stick with the farms, and I'm going to kind of show you my process of how the work started and gets edited and all that kind of fun stuff. So I shot film. If you remember the editorial work that I showed you, a lot of that was a quick deadline, a quick turnaround. It was meet the people, photograph for an hour, and then immediately send the photographs, or send the photographs the next day. With this project, I wanted to go in the opposite direction. I didn't want to see what the photos looked like for 2 months. Like, I just wanted the act of photographing, considering each frame, slowing down, and being thoughtful with each image each time I press the shutter. So this is kind of what a scene would look like after I would clean out my bag after a night's shoot. And then I would get these. These are contact sheets if you haven't shot film before. And I would kind of mark them up. Then I would come back to them, let them rest, and then go back with another kind of like grease marker. I wanted to live with the work. I wanted to be a tactile experience. I didn't want it to be like me staring at a computer screen, because I do that enough with like email images that I liked, and make these really basic kind of work prints, and then I would put them out on my counter and kind of just move them around to kind of figure out like which photos work together, which, if there's kind of like a natural sequence. And then my girlfriend would come home and she'd say, hey, you need to move this because we need to have dinner. This is not your personal studio. Every project that I start, I think of it as a book, or as some type of printed product, printed material. So with those basic little work prints, I would start to put together these books, and I would kind of carry it around when I'm on the bus or the metro and flip through it. And if I would get bored at a certain point, I would change the edit where I would make a note that I need to change the edit, and then stick it back in my bag and then revisit it. So it's another part of the editing process, and like really living with the work. And then I had an exhibition of this work last month in Washington, D.C. A stone's throw away from where the housing project is. And this is how I figured out what the sequence would be. Found a wall. We would just kind of stick stuff on the wall and then move it around, try to find a natural pair with what worked. And you can kind of see like pairings with the portraits happening, and then kind of a sequence. Some things change, some things don't. And then like another type of grid with another sequence. So it's a lot of just moving the photos around, living with it, and making sure to be as thoughtful in the editing process as you are during the actual shooting process. Because I think I'm learning now that they're both equally important. And that's actually it for me.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do you think your subjects see in your photography that makes them trust you instead of another photographer that they reject?
Well, I don't know if they're rejecting another photographer. I know that I always leave my camera in the bag. If there's a situation that I see and just like, oh, that looks like a photo, I will leave my camera in the bag purposely because like I know in my head that there will be a better moment or a better situation, because once you develop a rapport, once you make some type of connection, that will always be better than like the first image that you see. And a lot of it is, like, I always try to find some type of shared experience or something that's in common. I don't know, just to drive home, like I really try to find just something that in common, and spend a lot of time getting to know them and asking questions, and also a lot of listening too.
Yeah, how did you get started? Did you have any formal training?
So photography is kind of an accident. I wanted to be a writer, and photography, working with images, just came more naturally. I went to the University of Kansas and studied English, worked on the school newspaper, and then kind of got the photojournalism bug there, and then worked with newspapers and just kind of had mentors and kind people that I could go to ask questions, and they were nice enough to help me out.
But do you see yourself as primarily a fine art photographer or a journalist?
I don't really like labels. I think it's maybe coincidental that like the approach that I use falls under photojournalism, but I don't know, I just like authenticity, and if you can find like a real moment or real situation, that's, for me, that's the ideal. So I don't know, fine art, photojournalism, like, I don't know, they're both good, I guess.
But you're approaching galleries with your work.
So the hip hop work has been shown in galleries. It's also been published in newspapers and magazines. So I think there's some crossover. I view it as another way to reach a different audience. So an audience that's going to pick up a magazine is going to be, much different than one that walks through the doors here.
By introducing yourself first to the situation, do you think that changes them at all when you're photographing? Or?
Oh, of course. Oh, so I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. That's always my first thought is, how is it going to change? You're saying it changes for the better, that you see something better coming up. How do you deal with the people, wanting to smile for the camera or? So what I do is, after I've kind of introduced myself and given my little spiel of like what it is I want to do, who I am, then I get really quiet, and then I just kind of stand there and wait till people either get comfortable or just forget that I'm there. Sometimes you have to waste a couple frames
or at least kind of maybe pretend that you're making photos, and then like sort of the big grins, tend to disappear after that. But a lot of it's like kind of time and waiting. But yeah, like my presence changes like the situation, because like I'm walking around with like a big camera, sometimes a big film camera and a tripod. So that's obviously gonna introduce some bit of strangeness to any like daily life situation.
Jared, could you talk about your edit? Like, let's say use small town hip hop and the Goodman League as examples, like moving it around and getting a sense for what looks good together, but also like what things are you looking for, like for the pictures that stay? Like how do you know when your edit has said everything you wanted it to say?
Sure. So for small town hip hop, I wanted to use kind of two narratives: the start of a song and the end of a song, and the start of a day and the end of a day. And so those didn't come naturally when I first. So all that came with time spent with the work. So I didn't reach the idea of a song and the end of a performance. Like that was kind of done while spending time moving photos around and saying like, oh, recording studio, notebook paper, on stage. Yeah, a lot of it's just kind of spending time looking at your own work and being critical. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just always think it's interesting, like, oh, these are cool photos, and like in a grid, this one looks cool with this one, like, visually, but then there's also the, ideas too that influence which way you order things, right? So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of it's just the more time you spend with your work, kind of editing and sequencing, the better. Because I think you're going to see different narratives like come about, and it's going to, it's just going to make it better.
With the hip hop project, did you have an opportunity to show the work in the community? I'm just wondering now, as you finish that project more or less, how the people who were your subjects have seen the final product, either as a book dummy or a show, and
So
responded to it.
I showed an earlier version of the project in 2009 or 2010 at the O. Winston Link Museum in Roanoke. We also did an artist talk as well, and we got one of the guys to do a Q&A with me about the project and about the experience of me following them around, and like how kind of strange that was at first. Yeah, so these guys have like seen the work like anytime a photo blog publishes it, because they all have Google alerts now for like when their names show up. So they've seen the work when it shows up on their Facebook feed with them, the images tagged, or like they're sharing the link. I find that's like the highest kind of compliment.
Do you ever bring any of the music with you to any of the shows that any of the artists have done?
So during the Look 3 Festival of the Photograph, there was another exhibition, and we brought in a couple of the guys to perform during the opening. So it was kind of like opening / like concert.
So are a lot of them successful with their music careers, or are they just still struggling?
It's kind of a wide span. You've got the guys that are kind of like weekend warriors who only kind of record when they get off work. You've got a guy who's just started touring, and then there's another guy who's out in Los Angeles right now, working on kind of his debut album. So it's a big kind of like pool.
So what are some of your ideas for the future? What would you like to do?
So I guess I keep walking around the cul-de-sac of community a lot, which I'll probably continue to do for now. Most of my work the best work that I do is in my backyard, and I'm starting to kind of explore the suburbs of DC. I don't know where that work will go. I'm trying to make myself kind of go out and just kind of photograph what I respond to, and then maybe when I have a group of photos, I can reverse engineer something and then fill in gaps. So yeah, it might be the suburbs of DC for now.
So when you say community, you mean like communities where families,
Yeah, like groups of people.
groups of people live?
Yeah.
How much do you want your work to be a statement on race?
I don't know, I never thought about that. No, I guess like kind of the cool thing about photography is you can draw your own interpretations. I do like the idea of like providing a different viewpoint, different perspective.
What is the most interesting thing that you learned photographing the hip-hop series?
That you can make a recording studio pretty much anywhere. That like all you need is like a laptop, some of that egg crate, like soundproofing, like it can be from a bed, and a microphone. That's pretty much all you need. And like, it'll sound like radio quality.
Wow, that's awesome.
Is that it? Anything else? Well, Jared's here still. You can take questions. We can end the formal presentation now.
Okay, sure.
Is that, are you?
Yeah, nobody's got any other questions? Cool.
That is okay.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.